I'm Anne. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video where I test read 10 books from my physical TBR to see if I actually want to read them. So, if you didn't know, this year I'm doing this challenge where I can't buy any books until I get my physical TBR way down to fitting on like a single shelf type thing. So, because, I only read maybe 3 to 4 books from my physical TBR a month, I find myself going through them very slowly. So to quicken that up, I want to just knock out some books from my physical TBR that I will not read and I will not like. So today I'm going to be just reading the first chapter of 10 books from my physical TBR. These are all books that I picked out that I know specifically either I don't know much about or I have like mixed opinions as to whether I will even like this book. So I'm not going to put anything on there that I know clearly that I do want to read in the future. And this is a video idea that is not new. Most recently I saw it on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. She did a great video where she just read the first chapter of a few books from her giant physical TBR. We're just going to run through all the titles because a lot of these I don't know that much about. So we are going to do Take, Burn, and Destroy by S. Thomas Russell. This is like high seas naval type adventure. The next one is The Mask of Apollo by Mary Renault. The next one is Ripper by Stefan Petrusha. The next one is Style and a Man by Alan Fleischer. The next one is Youngan by Herbert Rest. Okay, the only reason I got this one is because when I saw Youngan, I thought it was Korean. Like Young-un, like a name. And no, it's like Youngan like, oh, he's young. And it's like, I don't know, country type talk. So yeah, that's fun. And then this one, The Dearest, Darkest by Kayla Cottingham. My mother-in-law gave me this because she bought 2 copies accidentally. The next one is Archangel by Margaret Fortune, sci-fi. This is the second book of the series. I bought it because I thought maybe my husband would like it. Yeah, he never showed any interest in it. Save the Date by Margaret Matson. I got this at the Dollar Tree and still haven't tried to read it. Next one is Heidi's Children by Charles Tritton. This, I believe, is a sequel to Heidi, but it's by a different author, so don't know. Into the Fire by Tom Clancy. Also a book that my mother-in-law bought 2 copies of and gave me one, but I've never read Tom Clancy and I've never been appealed or like interested to read Tom Clancy. Nothing wrong with him, he just doesn't write my kind of books. So another one is The Other Wes Moore by Wes Moore, which I offer free at my community college. And I've had it on my bookshelf now for like 7 years. So yeah, I need to kick that out of the way. So those are the 10 books that I'm going to be trying to read for. And I will get back to you when I've read some of them. Okay, hi, quick update. I finished 3 chapters of 3 books. And so far we're for 2 for 3 unhauling. So the first one I did was Into the Fire. And it starts with an assassination of this North Korean vice general or something. I don't know, and his entire family. Like these 5 men break into his house, kill his guards, threaten his servants, and like just shoot all his family in the head. So that actually has me intrigued. But the second chapter like jumps to its ship somewhere, and I didn't read it. I just like glanced at the page and I was like, oh, I'm not really interested in that. But since I'm like really drawn into the first chapter, it definitely hooked me. And now I'm curious as to like what's going on. So yeah, I think I'm going to not unhaul this, which I was definitely certain I was going to unhaul this. But yeah, it was actually really interesting. But then I did Take, Burn, and Destroy by S. Thomas Russell. This one starts off with this man, this captain of a ship in, I assume, like 1700s. Yeah, 1700s as the French Revolution rages, and it starts off with him getting ready to leave. The first like red flag I had was like a lot of characters introduced in the first chapter, and keep in mind the first chapter was very short, 7 pages. The first chapter was 7 pages. We technically met like 2-3 characters, but then we heard the names of like half a dozen more, and I was just like getting a headache just from that. So it definitely didn't hook me in. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep this one. I thought I would be way more likely to keep this one than this one, but And then the third one is Style and the Man by Alan Fletcher. Ooh, I didn't like this at all. And it worked out well because it's not technically a chapter. The first section is like, I don't know, 30 pages. So I definitely got a better feel for this than I did for the first two, because like the Tom Clancy one was like 5 pages and the Russell one was like 7 pages. I feel like it's not practical advice, and it's very much for like wealthy people, which I was hoping it would be more like practical. But no, it's all kind of, I don't know, fancy stuff. So yeah, I wasn't really happy with this. So I think definitely the second two, I probably won't keep. The Tom Clancy one, I think I will. So I'll update you when I've read more chapters. Okay, hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. If it's a little echoey, I'm sorry, I'm back in my kitchen, but I completed 4 more books. I don't know why I thought I had 10 books on this list, but I actually had 11 picked out, so yeah, I have 4 more to go. So the next one I had read was Heidi's Children. So basically, the original Heidi was by Joanna Spires? And basically she wrote it in Swedish, I think. And this guy, Charles Tritton, was the original translator for it, and he completed several more books of this, which this one is the third. I thought it was the second, but apparently in the second one, her and Peter, who was like the little shepherd boy that she made friends with in the first book, they get married at the end of the second book, and this one follows them having kids. So the first chapter starts with them, Heidi being written by this young girl who's like, yeah, my parents don't want me, can I come stay with you? So that's how it starts. This is nah. I wasn't a like big fan of the original Heidi book. Like, it's a good book, don't get me wrong, it's a fun, cute story, and I like the adaptations. I don't like it enough to want to keep this. The main reason I'm like, oh, should I get rid of it, is because it is from 1939, and I like keeping old books, but I don't think I like it enough, especially since someone else might love this book. So yeah, not gonna keep that one. The second one is My Darkest Dearest, and how does this start? So Finch is this young girl who's interviewing to try to get into this elite boarding school that's only for like prodigies, and she has a very pretty voice. She has her interview, and she like has this kind of run-in with this like popular pretty girl in school, Selena, and then she and her parents are driving home, and they get into a crash, go into a lake, and she dies, question mark, but she doesn't die, and I'm not sure what's happening with that. So actually, that lighting behind me is kind of weird. I'm gonna change that. So yeah, basically she dies, except she doesn't, but her heart stops. I don't know if she's gonna be like a ghost, but she does survive. I don't know. It's weird. But despite the like interesting setting, I don't know. I just didn't like it that much. I don't think it was enough away from teen angsty. I don't like YA that much unless it is like realistic and not filled with teen tropes, and this one seemed like these two girls are going to be enemies and possibly eventually become friends, and it just, I don't know, the setting was interesting with her kind of like dying, but it wasn't interesting enough for me to want to read this, so probably unhauling this one. All right, so the next book I read, or the next chapter, first chapter I read, was Ripper. Oh, this was the first one that I've read on this where, yeah, I'm definitely keeping this because it starts off in like the 1890s with this young man and woman, and she's like talking to him or interviewing him or something, and yeah, he ends up turning out to be like Jack the Ripper, but it's in like, I think, New York City, but I think we're gonna go to the modern day after that, so I don't know exactly how it's gonna go, but this one completely pulled me in because the chapter ends with like him saying, call me Jack, and like he kills her. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So yeah, definitely keeping that one. And then the last one I read was Archangel by Margaret Fortune. I actually technically read 2 chapters of this because the first chapter is like 2 pages. I don't read many sci-fi. I don't like sci-fi, so I'm probably not going to keep this. It starts off on this ship with this young man training, and yeah, he's talking about these specters that are this advanced civilization that like really can't be killed easily, so you either like run or die. I think that's how the information says. So this one, it sounds intriguing, but I don't know, it didn't pull me in. And with sci-fi, because I don't like sci-fi in general, unless it has good characters, I just will not be pulled in. So I have 4 more books to read, and I will get back to you when I've read those 4 books. Okay, and final update. I finished the last 4 books of this set. Hello. And yeah, I have, again, in this set, one that I'm going to keep. So yeah, not great odds. So the first one I read was Youngan by Herbert. And I knew nothing about this. The only reason I got it was, like I said, because I thought it was a Korean book and because it was old. I'm a sucker for old books. And basically, it's about these 3 brothers having, and the youngest one is called Youngan, thus the title, whose father burns their house down, killing their mother inside, and then just leaves out in the forest. That's the first chapter, and I'm just like, what is happening here? So this book came out in the 40s, and basically it's not even like a thriller or a mystery or anything like that. It's basically just a, like, how are they surviving type story. Like, how are they surviving in the, I think it's in upstate New York, in like the old west type frontier, and like, because they're talking about like Indians being around. I wasn't pulled in enough that I want to read this, so I'm definitely going to unhaul that. The next one I read was The Other Wes Moore by Wes Moore. Basically, Wes Moore is this guy, this handsome gentleman. He is a writer. I believe he's a news writer or something like that. I'm not sure, but he traced this man who shares his name. And the man is in prison for life after being part of a botched robbery and shooting a police officer. So he's in jail for life. And so this Wes Moore, the author, kind of traced back their similar upbringings and how, like, if one thing happened differently, or if like their lives went slightly different trajectories, how the one met Wes Moore would be the other Wes Moore, and like they would have switched positions or had the exact same thing happen. So really fascinating, but I don't know if, like, it didn't seem interesting enough. When I read like nonfiction biography, usually I like to read like historical stuff to learn about history. It's just not enough to just learn about a person. So yeah, I think I'm going to unhaul this, but it wasn't a bad book. It's just not my type of book. The next one I started was Save the Date by Morgan Matson, and oof. So it starts off with like this young girl. Her name is Charlie. And it starts with her making out with this boy. Like, that's the entire first like prologue. And I was like, okay, I'm not here for this. Like, this is teen angsty type weirdness. I got this for $1 at the Dollar Tree. I don't want to read this, so yeah. But the last one I read was The Mask of Apollo, and this one was intriguing. I think one of the reasons I actually got into this one more, because the first chapter was 30 pages. It was easier for me to get into this because it was so long, whereas some of the chapters that were like 5 pages, I couldn't get into quite as much. But this follows an actor in ancient Greece, and yeah, 4th century BC, that's when it started. This was really good, really good. I'm tempted to just like read this because, yeah, this was a very good opening, and I will be keeping this, obviously. So to sum it up, I had 11 books total that I ended up reading the first chapter of, and only 3 of which do I want to keep. So the 3 I'm going to keep are Into the Fire by Tom Clancy, which I did not think that was going to be the one that I was going to keep, but Ripper by Steva Petrusha, and The Mask of Apollo by Mary Renault. So those are the 3 that I'm definitely going to keep. All the rest I am unhauling. So yeah, I will do like a big unhaul at the end of the year, because I have other extra books that I'm getting rid of that I have in a pile that I just collect in my closet. So yeah, this was really fun, especially since now I have 8 more books to take off my TBR. So that's really exciting, and I only ended up wanting to keep 3. So have you read any of these books? Am I making a mistake with some of them? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!